I am the CEO of Watermark. Watermark is a nonprofit women's organization. We're based in the Bay Area, although our reach is global through the multinational global sponsors that we support. We've been in existence for 21 years, and our purpose simply is to help women make their mark in and for their company, their career, and in their communities. Prior to joining Watermark, I was the Chief Diversity Officer at Cisco. I was at Cisco for 11 years and enjoyed my time there, learned a lot about Silicon Valley and technology companies. And before Cisco, I was at American Express, where I led instructional design for the card division, design and delivery and executive development. My decision to take this job at Watermark was a decision that I had to make. Did I want to leave the corporate sector and go back into my initial career, which was in the nonprofit arena? But there are positives and negatives with everything that we do. You have more control in a small company, but you also have to do a lot of things that you have support systems to do. I think one example that strikes me early on in my career, and I've shared this with many young women who I support and counsel. Early in my career, I wanted to go away to college, but I chose a school not because of its prominence and the topic I was interested in studying, but because of its proximity to my home. My mom had been ill, and I needed to be near home so that I could be supportive of her if she needed me. So I needed a commuter school, basically. And I think that limited my choices, and then from there, other choices were limited. I think we're constantly making decisions, weighing things, weighing personal implications. I took a break in my career when my children were born, and then re-entered, very typically, as many women do, at a lower level, because I was so grateful to be able to come back and have some flexibility in my work. When I got back into working, it was at a university because my boss, the dean, was very sympathetic to a working mother, and so she gave me additional flexibility that I didn't necessarily have if I had gone back into a corporate setting. So I think you're always making trade-offs, and we all do that all the time, and those are tough choices, but that's kind of the way we lead our lives. I go there often. I'm very lucky that I love what I do, both at Watermark, in large part because I am the CEO and I get to create things from scratch. I like the idea of creating something and seeing it to fruition. So the vision to actuality, I like that. I get a great deal of energy from seeing something go live. But I also had that experience, I think, and I get that experience over and over again when I create a learning experience for participants, but whether it's an executive development program or a training that I do now through Watermark with our corporate sponsors, and I see people in the room having those aha moments and saying that things change as a course of the learning that they got. They walk away in a different space than when they came in, and are able to make changes that they weren't able to make. Maybe they see things differently. Maybe they have skills that they didn't have. I find that's sort of my sweet spot, if you will, and that energizes me tremendously. So I'm very lucky, having been, long-term instructional design and delivery years and years ago at Amex, and done some of that around the notion of diversity and other areas, having been a talent officer even at Cisco. that's something I carry with me. It's something I still love. I love the learning process, and I love to see people learn and grow. I think there are critical masses coming together. I think the group that's the conscious capitalism group, the groups that are the millennials that are creating a work environment that works for them. We had a watermark event, and we had a woman speak, Danae Ringelman, and she's one of the founders of a company called Indiegogo, the crowdsourcing, which really changed the way, changed and created the whole notion of crowdsourcing. She worked for a financial institution, and she was just incredibly discouraged, and she would, do her work, go home. She was doing very well successfully for one of the big firms, and she would talk to her mother on the phone and say, I don't like this, and it's discouraging. There's got to be a better way. And her mother said, stop whining about it, figure it out. As mothers tend to do, and I know that, being one. And she and a friend or a few friends came up with a way, leveraging technology, just thinking of how could we look at funding sources in a different way instead of the old typical model. And so they came up with this notion of crowdsourcing, which became Indiegogo. She created her own company because it didn't exist. And I think that there is a lot of that type of initiative amongst the millennial generation. They have been encouraged, often by boomer parents like us, like me, and you, to say, if it doesn't exist and you want to do it, find a way to make it happen. And they're doing it, like Danae. And so I see so many young women entrepreneurs and young men entrepreneurs, and they're entrepreneurs not necessarily because they want to get rich, but because they want to create a work environment that they want, that fits with their dream, not just about a product or an end result, but also meets a need that they feel is not being met, or is a way to work that they don't see being met. So I think that I do have a great deal of hope about these shifts, and the more that those companies can be successful, the more that people look to them. I met the woman who did TaskRabbit. You're out somewhere, you're delayed at a meeting, you need someone to go pick up the dry cleaning because you want to wear that suit tomorrow. So you just call TaskRabbit, and someone goes and picks up your dry cleaning and leaves it in your house for you, or drops it at your office, or someone goes and walks the dog, or what have you. A friend of mine said it's like having a wife. Now there's a company filling that niche to say life has changed, businesses are springing up to support us in this new lifestyle. And I think that the same thing around the changing workforce. I think we're going to see lots and lots of new options.
Wow.